Welcome to Off the Post, powered by Lights On Electric and Cover All Exteriors. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Anthony Mangione, and how are you?
You look out the window, I'll tell you in a second.
Although I tweeted this, and I'll say it for the viewers out there. Maybe you're in Florida and you have nothing, or maybe you're in a place that has worse. Action News is the best comedy on a day like this because they're out there, and at the beginning, they're trying to just drum up the best snow they can, and they're like they got the Action News ruler, and they're going into flower pot. Like it's ridiculous.
It's the Dave Roberts tradition.
It's ridiculous.
Dave did it. It was cool. He always did it for many years. Actor Dave Boreanaz's father was a longtime weatherman here at Channel. It was a longtime weather guy at Channel 6. But yeah, the ruler was always what everybody was waiting for.
The official Action News ruler. It's just it's just great comedy. I watched for like a half hour straight. We have Mike Ogello, Mike, who's also great comedy.
Thank you. The funny thing is that here, I mean, they're always up on the roof of the of the news place, and they're showing the wind coming in. The thing that makes me hilarious are these people on the Weather Channel or either on the local stations who go to the possibly worst place to go, like the waterfront on Lake Erie, and it's like, and you're like, it's bad out here. Like, yeah, I wish you'd get swept out to sea.
Oh, I don't ever feel that way.
This is purely because they're hoping to go at this point now. They're purely hoping that this clip gets picked up by national news,
right?
And they get their faces on national news. Yeah, this is how people on TV operate.
Yeah,
no, that's fair. But let's talk about some real heartfelt stories in the NHL this week, and we go to Toronto, where Mitch Marner comes in and Keegan Colasar rips a 16 sellout jersey from a fan's hands.
That was great, by the way. I loved it. I loved it.
And it was great the way the Leafs really answered back and won. Anyhow, they lost, but Mike, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, stand back, and this will be like a 10-minute. Russ setting me off here. Yeah. Okay. First of all, Keegan Colasar. How about what the NFL did for DK Metcalf? What should happen to Keegan Colasar? Because better or worse, it wasn't like he was slandering his family. It was a jersey of a Leaf fan in their personal space, in like sticking out in the little gap, and it said sellout 16, and he yanks it. Okay, fine. But he should be either fined or suspended by the league. But he won't be. He won't be because the NHL is a bunch of pussies. That's
did he hurt his feelings, Mike? Is that why? Did he?
No. Well, no. He must have hurt Keegan Colasar's feelings.
No, Colasar just saw it and said, "You're an idiot," and he.
Hey, Russ, fine. The fan was expressing themselves. Maybe he didn't agree, but the thing was, he had no business going into the fan's personal space.
Well, was he? No. Was he in the personal space? The minute it's in the tunnel, and in the area,
he wasn't sticking it in the tunnel. It was through. There's a gap in.
He hung it over. He could have
hung it over where he could get to it. He could have showed it that way in front of him, but he didn't.
Watch the video again. But anyway,
watch the video. Okay. That was a Bruder film. I know what I saw.
There we go. Back into the left, Russ. Back into the left.
He got the fan got the attention he probably wanted.
Right. Well, he wanted to get the attention of
mission accomplished.
He wanted He wanted to get the attention of the sellout. Now he didn't even see it because Colasar pulled it down. But anyway, that's beside the point. I hold Maple Leaf fans to task because the fact that they booed Marner every time he touched the puck, that's fine. Whatever. That's fine.
They didn't do a good enough job booing.
He's public enemy number one. But the fact that they cheered that sellout piece of crap when they gave him the video presentation. I mean, there were people who were texting me, Leaf fans who were in the building, who were watching it on TV. They were sickened by it because I'm sorry. No, they didn't. Russ, they didn't cheer John Tavares on Long Island, and what Mitch Marner did to the Toronto Maple Leafs is worse than what Tavares did.
Set the bar to the ground.
That's it. That's exactly where we're at now, Russ. Mike wants to. This is what he wants.
He wants
what he wants, and if he doesn't get what he wants,
when
he's going to be mad about.
No. When you have an agent, a player, and his family conspiring 2 years out from unrestricted free agency, searching in Vegas for houses, denying.
Did he not play hard for the Leafs? Of course he did.
No, Russ, he
He
didn't.
didn't?
Because he's a friggin' no-show when it counted in the playoffs. That's why.
Okay, not everybody comes through in the playoffs. Barry Bonds only came through
Russ,
in
it
one
was a
playoffs in his
consistent
life.
thing. It was a
conspiracy to destroy the Leafs in the playoffs. I got
no.
That's what you're intimating here.
No. It wasn't a conspiracy. Wait, hold on. Let me get my diatribe out here.
Woosah, come on, Michael. Woosah.
But the point here is I mean, I had, fans are going to do what fans are going to do. They cheered Matt Sundin, and Matt Sundin stabbed him in the back too. But Marner's was worse. At least Matt Sundin, he wanted to stay for the right reasons. He didn't want to leave his teammates. He wanted to make the playoffs. Fine. It would have been better for the organization had they missed the playoffs by a lot, and he prevented them from doing that. Fine, whatever. But Mitch Marner, they gave him a short video presentation, which was indicative of the fact that they were not exactly sure of what was going to happen. And the lower bowl, the people eating sushi and drinking champagne, the corporate people in Toronto, they were like, "Oh, thank you." Whereas the people up in the purples were booing them, because those are the people who were offended by the way Mitch Marner, and I'm sure Mitch Marner had a big chunk of that $12 million on the bulletin board in the Vegas locker room, because Jack Eichel and Mark Stone, who actually show up when it counts in the playoffs, they showed up like that game meant something, whereas the rest of the fellow travelers on the blue and white, like Joseph Wall, and I like Joseph Wall, but he was like, "Oh, I hope fans are respectful," or Max Domi, "Oh, we miss him." No, I'm sorry. Okay, that's your point of view because this is your friend. The people in the stands hate this guy because he stabbed them in the back. That's why. Now, I'll have to say this. Mitch Marner, in typical big game Mitchie fashion, had one shot on goal and didn't do a goddamn thing. Whereas some of his former teammates, they did the same thing. They didn't show up until the middle of the second period in a game that put away all the Marner stuff. They need the 2 points. They lost to Minnesota. They lost in overtime to Detroit. They're on the precipice of falling out of the playoff race, and they do a no-show in the game that people circled on their friggin' calendar in July. So I'm sorry. That was a bad look by a team that is fading fast.
The video is not a bad look. If you wanted to cheer Mitch Marner for the video, you have every right, and you should.
And to the right to react however they want to. Just as Michael stated, certainly, if you wanted to boo him and you took personal offense,
you do that too.
You took personal offense to the way he operated. I mean, I would take more offense at other things, but in life, but that's just me.
and okay, Vepsis in the chat, and I'll just say this. Vepsis, before 2023, you're right. He didn't stab them in the back but after 2023, when he prevented them, Elliot Friedman reported they had a deal with Carolina for Martin Necas. They didn't even bother going to Marner because they knew Marner would not waive his no move to Carolina. Then at the deadline, they had a deal. Well, hold on. They had a deal for Mikko Rantanen. They said, asked him again, and he said no. It's his right, but don't expect people to love you when you stab the organization in the back.
People to love him coming back? Do you think he went into that? Do you think he went into that game thinking to himself, the Toronto is going to show me absolute sort of love and affection? When you know full well he's well aware of probably how this thing ended.
Well, he
was probably ready for more of a more vitriol, more like how you feel than what happened.
That's what they handed him a bouquet of roses and a blue teddy bear when he went on the ice.
No, that's what he got. If he got one ovation, that was too much.
For all the years he played there, that's too much.
Yeah. For the way he left, Russ. For the way, honestly, if he had agreed to go to Carolina for half. Who knows if Carolina would have stipulated, well, we need to sign him to an extension, because Natchez only had a year left in his contract. They may have taken Marner like they took Rantanen without.
We're talking about all these possibilities.
And he denied them all.
Let me add one other thing. I want to add one other thing to mix, because this has been a very enjoyable convecation. I'm perfectly fine.
Oh yeah,
keep going.
You let me raise your blood pressure.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Russ. Here's the thing, and Mike. Mike, you talk about how the New York Islander fans, gave it to Tavares.
Yes.
And you've also taken the position of how sort of, I don't want to say you were taken aback by it, but it was like you thought it was like way too much. You expected the same, but you've also had this idea that like sort of that Toronto's kind of on a higher plane than Islander fans are sometimes.
Just simply on intelligence. But
so there we go. So let's what it is that the Leaf fans actually in this circumstance, the ones that were in the stands, and again, we could say this is the sushi and champagne crowd.
Yeah,
they acted in a respectful manner. They actually acted on a higher plane than the Islander fans that you excoriate. And yet you're mad about it.
Well, okay, Anthony, this is not 6 of one, half a dozen of another when it comes to Tavares and Marner. When it comes to Tavares, they had ample opportunity to sign him. They remember the state of the Islanders at the time that Tavares left. The general manager, Garth Snow, gets fired, 2 months before Tavares leaves. They had ample opportunity to get him signed to an extension. The building was in chaos. The organization was in chaos. He made the playoffs, I think, once or twice in 8 years, and he had the opportunity to go home. Here, Marner has the opportunity to escape home. He's not, I'm not going to give my team the hometown discount, the team that paid me $11 million after doing almost nothing. No,
he did almost nothing on
I'm going to head. Hold on. Let me bring up Mitch Marner statistics here.
He had 94 points.
That was absolutely nothing. Right. It's
the playoffs. I'm sorry. He had 102 points in his final year of his final regular season, and then did nothing in the playoffs. He had 94 points the year before he hit the 6-year contract, and then did nothing in the playoffs except for one series against Tampa Bay, which, by the way, is up until the last series against Ottawa was the only series that they won. It is not sui generis what Marner and what.
So we're isolating the Leafs' shortcomings in the postseason predominantly to Mitch Marner's performances. Yeah. When you've said in the past also that you've had concerns about William Nylander and other players.
Yes.
But it seems that now you absolutely want need that focus. You need that person. That you need.
I'm not, again, like I said before, it's not exclusive to him, but he was a big part. He was part of that core four. Nylander every once in a while would show up in the playoffs. Matthews every once in a while.
You used to go on Nylander all the time, and then we would counter by showing he actually got point totals, and then you shifted more to Marner.
And Anthony. And I was right to go after Nylander. And the thing is like before they signed him to this contract, the no move clause kicked in for Marner on July 1st, 2023. At that point, they needed to trade Nylander. Why? Because he was the only one that they could trade. And they needed to get other things in the organization to make them a more complete team. And then they sign him to the extension. That's a failure of Brendan Shanahan.
But it's also a case where maybe you're thinking to yourself that in this circumstance that, they knew the potential possibility of Marner not coming back.
Right. Then
they made an active choice.
Right. Then you should have traded him before the no move clause kicked in on July 1st. But remember the power play that had fallen into place with Shanahan and Kyle Dubas, where he fires Dubas 5 weeks before the no move clause kicks in, and then tells Brad Treliving, you can't trade these guys, and calls all four of them and says, you're safe. Brendan Shanahan is a big part of this, but I'm telling you, in the here and the now, especially after what happened Friday night, Mitch Marner, I'm sorry, it was a disgraceful presentation by Leaf fans during that video presentation. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been grateful for some of the things that he did, but in the end, he left a bad taste in their mouths, and typical of Leaf fans, especially a certain group of Leaf fans, because a lot of them, I think a lot of them had the right feeling, and they should have booed him every time he touched the puck, and they should have booed him during the video.
You know what's interesting though? For a guy who did nothing, he had 300 more points than Wendell Clark.
Right, Russ. But when did Clark show up?
Listen, Mike, you just said he did nothing. All I'm pointing out to you is he's sixth all time.
When did Wendell Clark show up? 86,
we're not talking
87, 93, 94.
And Mitch Marner is the only player to never have a good playoffs, right? In the history of sport.
I'm not saying that, Russ, but he did not show up.
Fine, but he's sixth all time in the
I don't give a shit.
Well, that's why people clapped, Mike.
No, well, I'm sorry, Russ. I don't give a shit if he's sixth all time. They're empty calorie points.
Yeah, every one of them. He never got a game-winning goal. Right?
He didn't perform when he needed to perform. And on top of that, all the other stuff about him and his camp, intimidating the media, calling reporters, his camp, his security people, calling reporters and threatening them.
Here's two more stats. He had 37 game-winning goals and 88 game-winning assists.
Yeah. Great. Wonderful.
But that's no impact.
Wait, no. What did they do in the playoffs, Russ?
Well, what do the Leafs ever do in the playoffs?
Exactly. We can mix. Then we're getting
into that. Part of that. He's a big
everybody's
part of
a part of it. That's
well, now he's gone, and where are the Leafs now?
Right.
They may not even make the playoffs now.
Well, okay, you could say that. I think they're probably one of the most injured.
They probably should, but again,
they're one of the
doors falling out from underneath.
They're one of the most. They've been, and maybe it's because they have an older roster, but they've been one of the most snake bitten teams in terms of injuries this year. Matthews has been out, Nylander has been out. Their top three of their top four defensemen have been out. Their both goaltenders have been out. Other than that, they've been healthy. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like if they miss the playoffs, they miss the playoffs, and Brad Treliving probably gets fired.
And so does Craig Berube. That's a whole other thing. So we'll talk about the Rangers for a minute because clearly the season's over. You can see there's people are isolating videos of JT Miller and listen, they're going to show JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck videos all through the Olympics now because Cole Caulfield got a hat trick and has, 30 goals, something close to that, 28, 29 goals.
30-goal Caulfield.
And Jason Robertson keeps scoring too. So, again, that's going to keep happening, and there's nothing anybody could do about that. But with the Artemi Panarin situation, again, he is not going to give the Rangers a huge list of teams that he's willing to play for. It might be one or two. That's my guess. Yeah. And that's what you deal with.
One of them is going to be Florida.
One of them is going to be Florida for sure.
Florida or Tampa.
Or Tampa. Or maybe those are the two.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I don't see him. He moved. Here's the thing. He moved east for a reason. And if he gets to call his shot here for a chance to win a Stanley Cup for the first time in his career, this is the direction that you would assume that he's leaning towards. Carolina is another possibility, but I feel like if you're going to get dealt and you're going to go into free agency, right. you follow a little bit of the Marchand playbook from last year.
But it seems though that based on what Elliot Friedman reported yesterday, it seems as though the teams that are interested in him are interested in him as in partnership with an extension.
Yeah, and which he won't do.
Right, and Russ, but that's the thing. He'll only do that if the extension is what he would get.
Get close to the dead. We start getting close to the deadline, and teams will change their tune very quickly.
And have we not? I just want to say this. Yeah. Have we not learned anything about how Artemi Panarin does business? When he was with the Blackhawks, we all knew he was going to free agency and wasn't going to re-sign there. He doesn't re-sign with anybody. He always wants to be a free agent.
And Columbus too. He had the long stretch of Columbus.
Yeah, right. No, I get that, but that's the point of view of like certain teams, like they say Washington, they say Florida, they say Los Angeles, which I think is a possibility. But Los Angeles would have to pony up probably the kind of money that the Kopitar is making right now. And I don't know if anybody really wants to spend $10+ million on Artemi Panarin right now. I don't know
where the Kings are though, because again, if they're next season,
they're not in a good enough spot to get him.
No, I would say no, unless it's a case where again he's calling it. He's very much saying LA is one of the only places I'm considering.
Right.
So figure it out. I know. There's been some talk of San Jose, and I get that because the Sharks are. Again, they're making a push. The Sharks are making a push.
I'm going to say this in the nicest possible way. Artemi Panarin has a nightlife and likes to have fun. We all know it. We've seen it documented. San Jose isn't exactly the best place to keep up that lifestyle.
I mean, it's not that far from San Francisco, but come on.
No, but I'm just saying though. This is
I agree with you. I don't see Carolina. I can see one of the Florida teams, but probably more specifically the Panthers in this case.
It could be Colorado too, but I just feel like he doesn't. I don't also think
if they're acquiring him purely with the understanding that they know he's not going to re-sign with them, and you're just having him on board so he can add something to the resume for his free agency.
And here's the other thing: he has to have a certain amount of puck touches. He's not going to get them in Carolina.
No, and I think it was Elliot that reported yesterday that the Rangers are looking for the same package that the Islanders got from Nelson. It's like, and I'm looking to date Jessica Chastain. It's like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's
how much you love redheads. Go ahead, keep going.
I do.
But and Minnesota,
they love me, Anthony.
Minnesota's a dark horse because if Kaprizov, reaches out to Panarin, maybe there's something there. Maybe, we'll see. We'll see. But at any rate,
please,
that's where that stands.
Please, Kevin. No, Kevin, I take the personal offense that Russ and I are Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets.
Yeah. We do take offense to that.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about Shane Wright. We'll talk about that for a minute.
Yes, we should.
Of course, he might get dealt, but he's only getting dealt for an upgrade. So what does an upgrade mean? An upgrade means you get somebody else who's going to be on the roster that they deem will do better with their team than Shane Wright is currently doing. And then the other team gets more upside because Shane Wright is still a developing player. So that takes out a lot of teams because they're not going to accept picks and prospects. They want somebody on the roster now because they probably believe they have a chance.
You're looking at a top six. They want a top six replacement.
Top six. Yeah.
The question is that they want. I'm assuming in this case they're open to a win. They're open to.
I think they're open to a win.
For a forward in general, because their center situation right now is relatively solid right now. Beniers, Stevenson. There's at least in terms of a top six type, the type of center that they're looking for in this circumstance, that they have that in place. They just need someone to goose their goal scoring a bit.
Yeah. So, see, like Johnny Red's like, hey, what about Lafreniere for him? It's not enough. They want something. And listen, Lafreniere, I think if he gets a change of scenery, can get back to.
And you're looking at also the history that the Rangers have already done business with them with Kakko already. So I get that idea.
I get that, but I don't think that would be enough.
Again, but
they're looking for something better. They're looking.
And I've had people ask me about, hey, what about the Flyers need a center? Why not Wright? And I haven't gotten necessarily. It's an interesting player to consider, but I think Philly, if they're looking to add a center in this circumstance, they're going a little more of a potentially a bigger fish in that regard. It's just my read on it. But I mean, I would not be against a Shane Wright trade. I just don't.
Yeah, but you're going to lose Tippett at the least. I mean, that's who you're definitely going to lose.
You're going to lose Tippett at the least right now. And again, Tippett's on another one of it for the last month and a half.
He goes on little heaters. He does.
Yeah, but this one's been a little longer. This one, he goes on like for a couple weeks. This has been he's been his overall level of play since starting a little bit in December, but certainly going through January up to where we're at right now. Everybody's now noticing it because he got the hat trick against Colorado.
Well,
but there's been a lot of other little things that he has gotten much better at this year than he's had in the previous years.
Yeah, two things. He owns Mackenzie Blackwood. That helped him in that game. There's no question he was in his head because he was basically just shooting the puck and Blackwood couldn't stop it.
I'm looking at more just
no, but hold on. They said on the broadcast, I know. The detail work you're right about. But as far as getting the hat trick against Blackwood, he scored more goals against Blackwood than any current active player. So he owns Mackenzie Blackwood. Mm-hmm. But then the other thing is, and I talked about it a year ago, he needed to work on his shot deception, and he is doing that now.
Yes.
And that is helping him.
Yeah, and that at least makes the Flyers feel a little bit better with regards to the 8-year deal. And
Yeah.
And again, it's as the cap goes up, that number starts to look a little better and better. If again, he's able to consistently remain in the 20 to 30 goal range on a consistent basis for Philadelphia.
I mean, Seattle definitely, when it comes to Wright, they're looking, according to all the reports, they're looking for scoring. They're looking for a young scorer. I mean, I don't know where Jason Botterill is taking that team, because they have a lot of unrestricted free agents pending on UFAs. So if they're in the playoff race, then they're not going to trade those people. But if they fall out, then every general manager is going to be calling them for Alexiak and Jaden Schwartz and all the other players. I mean, the Lafreniere stuff, I mean, I think they mentioned it on Saturday headlines. The last place that Chris Drury is going to trade Lafreniere is to Jeff Gorton and the Montreal Canadiens. There's no way with that. Hell, I don't. In Montreal would be able to give them the package that they could. We know Montreal is low. Not Fowler, but Russ, top 2 or 3 prospects in the Montreal organization. And you'd have to trade 2 of them to get Lafreniere, but he could blow up in Montreal. And
if they want to trade Oliver Kapanen, they probably could make that trade, but I don't know if they do it.
What about the kid who starred for Canada at the World Juniors, Michael? Michael Hage. Is it Hage?
Yeah, Hage. No, it's Michael Hage. Is it Hage? Hague.
I get confused on that.
I know the player. I know how good he is, but I'm just saying that
he's untouchable because he's a center, or at least supposed center. Yeah. So I think he's untouchable for them. But like Oliver Kapanen's probably like who you might be able to get. I don't think they would do that deal. I don't think Montreal is going to do that deal. I just don't think. Now, San Jose, would they, because somebody's saying, would they have interest? Sure. I mean, San Jose is somebody the Rangers would trade with because Greer and Drury are buddies, and they're tied together in this league. So
you'd probably have to give up William Eklund at least.
Yeah, William Eklund's probably the guy.
For Lafreniere? Yeah, probably.
And, maybe they would do that because Lafreniere plays a different style. So who knows? That's possible. Congratulations to Lindy Ruff. He won his 1,000th game. Yep. That was inevitable. Just like Thanos is inevitable, so was.
I mean, same color.
So was that.
Buffalo, Thanos is purple.
Yeah, I find it hilarious.
Or royal blue. Sorry, I said correct. I apologize. Royal blue.
I find it hilarious that everybody is saying, yeah, all of a sudden it is like it's a switch of fortune between the Sabres and the Bills. I mean, let's cool your jets, folks. I mean, the Buffalo Sabres have had a good 5 weeks. They've had a great 5 weeks. They're 18-3-1 in the last 22 games. We have seen, all of us as grizzled veterans of watching the NHL, have seen teams that get on a hot streak that sometimes are not very good. Now, right. I think the talent has been there.
Yes.
But the talent's been there for a while, and we know how confidence, when it comes to a team, can mold them together into playing at a higher level than they ever have.
You know what I think the difference is?
Here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to say. If the Sabres were this dish that had great potential, is it possible that Josh Jones was the cayenne pepper that pulled it all together?
I think he's a part of it. I do think there's something to that. I also think the other thing that maybe gets overlooked is, Rasmus Dahlin is the most important player to that team, right?
Yeah.
Well, what was always going to make Rasmus Dahlin better? Matthias Samuelsson being healthy.
Right.
That is true.
And they've played predominantly together all year. So yes, and
he's made a difference.
And Matthias Samuelsson has been a revelation in terms of the offense in his game. He has
a good shot. It's just that he got molded into a defensive. But he, with the program, he did score some goals, and so he's not going to be a big goal scorer, but he has a decent shot.
Love it, Josh Jones Truther.
To the Josh Jones Truther, no, I'm not. I mean, now, okay,
I think we're closer to saying
who created that handle just to get that crack in on Mike.
That's good.
But okay,
I'll say this from my perspective, and Mike can go, "Oh, Mike, you'll get your word in. Don't worry." I would say they're closer to being good than not being good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, first, the Josh Doan contract. You gave a 7-year deal for somebody who's had half a good season. Now, do I think he's a good player? Have I been impressed with what he's done so far? Yeah, he's had a really good half season.
Yeah.
I can't overlook the fact that they sort of lucked into him because the focus of that deal was Michael Kesselring, and he's been a disaster. He's been hurt 4 times.
Which was predictable.
Listen, I'll turn around to you and say, I can go back to 1994 and talk about how Eric Desjardins was the focus of the Recchi deal, and John Leclerc was kind of thrown in, and we all saw how that went.
Right. I mean, you take. That's why you get throw-ins, Anthony. I mean, yeah,
right.
there was a big gangly former first-round pick of the St. Louis Blues who was thrown into the Ryan O'Reilly deal, and now that guy's on the U.S. Olympic team.
And there wasn't any loyalty at that point in terms of the Dones anymore. I mean, for the Dones, because they were out of Arizona at that point now.
Well,
they were in Utah,
and he didn't play well in Utah, and now but
he doesn't have the expectations that probably were, and that's why I always tell people, be hesitant to draft players whose family members have been prominent members of organizations, because there is something to be said sometimes for that level of weight on a player. I do believe that.
He played at Arizona State. His family was based in Arizona, and
it sounds great for public relations, and it looks great because it's found. And then after that, there's the weight of the expectation, too.
Right? But he succeeded. He succeeded in the AHL in Tucson. He succeeded in a small window with the Coyotes.
Right.
But then when they went to Utah, he had difficulty.
Yeah.
So now, but his dad is now working for the Leafs. So, and I know his dad has been a constant presence at the buildings, scouting for Toronto. So, I mean, there's a comfort level there. The only thing I'm saying is I thought it was a little too fast, and I think it was a reflection of the fact that they're not going to get Alex Tuch signed. I know that Elliot on 32 Thoughts today said, be careful of messing with the chemistry of, don't do a cannonball in the pool when things are going. Yeah. Okay. I get that. But the problem is this organization cannot allow a player. They cannot do an own rental situation. They cannot allow, if Alex Tuch has not agreed to a contract by March the 6th, they have to trade him. Now, I would be, if I were the Sabres, does that mean would I pay him $10.6 million? Go ahead. You've got cap space. But if you look at them now after signing Doan, they have $90 million in cap space allocated. I don't think they want to be in the top third of the NHL in terms of salary. They want to be like sort of middle of the pack. And that's always been a situation where, Kevin Adams, they were operating on sort of a budget. Now, if Terry Pegula has promised Jarmo Kekalainen that money is not a consideration, then they might be able to sign Alex Tuch and then maybe trade somebody else in the summer. But I don't know. We'll see.
We will indeed.
So one last thing.
We should briefly touch certainly on the Flyers here, Russ.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering if you wanted to go back to them. That's fine. They had a really, really big win against Colorado.
Yeah. And I kind of put this in my piece, is the fact that it was a bit of a roller coaster week for them, considering the fact that, as crazy as it sounds, they should actually, in many ways, they should have come out of this with 6 points than 5. But the Utah game kind of was that sandwich in between of like great vibes, crash to the floor, and then back up again. It was like this week. The results are good. The weird part for them is that, as Steve Cohen mentioned in the chat, that Philadelphia is closer to the 3rd spot in the Metro than the wild card. They're 3 points behind there, but they're actually in range of the Islanders in the division, currently in the division race for the guaranteed playoff spot. So it was an important week for Philly, regardless of the situation, because at the beginning of it, you're 0-5-1, and you're facing this gauntlet of 3 really good teams out west, and you come out of 5 to 6 points with 2 regulation wins. I'm not saying they're playoff. I think they saved their playoff hopes here. We'll see how long this goes, obviously, as the season continues to progress. But that was kind of my point in my piece was certain players are beginning to – there's some good things where I think some players, like I said, like Tippett, who's being rounded into shape. Michkov is starting to look like he's turning the corner. In some ways, I almost look at the February break, and I made this point in my piece, that the February break is good for him to kind of work on continuing to improve his stamina. His stamina seems to be getting a little bit better and better each game. My big thing, though, is that now I'm starting to think about it. Hey, maybe if he's hitting his stride and then we have a break, I mean, he's going to have to really be on it, really be on everything over the next over the Olympic break, so that he doesn't lose the momentum he has going into the stretch run. Because if Michkov starts clicking like he did last year, Philadelphia's chances of a postseason berth increase, I think, substantially, as long as the goaltending obviously holds.
I think they increase, but the numbers are tough now. And
the numbers are tough. I think the thing is now they're faced with, and I do believe this, is that because of that drop, the wild card now has become a little bit dicier for them because of how the Atlantic is really starting to heat up now. Everything. You almost have to get that guaranteed three spot. To make sure it may be just a case where things are where
and they'd have to
you got to get that 3 spot, because if you don't get it, you may not be in at all.
I mean,
and that's what I think, and I think they have to overcome the Islanders and Capitals. I think they could overcome the Islanders.
That's why Mars game is a massive game.
I mean,
the weather conditions.
You have 4 teams right now tied at 57 points, and everybody says, well, Buffalo. Oh my God. Well, Buffalo, like I said, they've gone 18-3-1, and they're only 1 point up on the second wild card. So they had to have that ridiculously successful stretch to get into the position where they're in the mix. But right now, I was watching the game last night between Florida and Minnesota. Florida gave up a shorthanded goal with about 5 minutes left to go in the third period, and they were down 3-2. And then they scored on the power play, and then they scored in overtime. Florida's coming. Philadelphia, I think, is still there. Toronto, if they ever get their head out of their ass, I think they have a chance to get back in this race. But they have one of the most difficult schedules before the Olympic break. And all these teams, if they go 500 or less in the 6 or 7 games before the Olympic break, you may as well just say we're selling, because you're not catching up.
Yeah. Okay. 2 things. First thing, I'll do a quick food take. And this is just me. I know Mike will disagree with this.
Good preamble.
But when I'm having chicken wings, right?
Yes.
I don't need any additional sauce or dip or anything. If I order whatever the wing is, that's how I want to eat it.
It's got to be good enough and on its own.
It should be good enough. Everybody now has these 15 sauces. I don't need them. If they're good, they're good. That's my food take.
I know that Russ doesn't like blue cheese. He always gives me his blue cheese when we go out for wings. That's fine. That's a Buffalo.
I like ranch.
Yeah, well, I mean that's a cardinal sin in Buffalo. If you ask for ranch, they think you're a heathen. But I like my wings extra crispy, because I've had one too many times where I've gone to places like the Anchor Bar that undercook their wings, where the skin is like gelatinous. That's gross. I want my wings done, and that's why if they're a little more well done,
it needs a little blowtorch next to it.
Right. If they're a little more well done and they're a little drier, then you need the extra sauce, or you need the dip to dip it in blue cheese to give it a little something. So I get where you're coming from, and there are certain wings like lemon pepper wings or some of
that's it.
I like them. I like them just like the wings. So it doesn't need anything extra. But I get it.
Yeah, I see. My wife she actually likes to make her own wings at the time, but she doesn't make buffalo. She likes to make them small barbecue. Like she has her own barbecue thing that she likes to do. But if we're doing regular wings, I'm closer to Mike. I don't want it. I like it crispy, but I don't want it too crispy in some ways. I have nothing against blue cheese. The other sauces, I feel like I agree with Russ in that I feel like the sauces are there to compensate, I think, for a wing that isn't as good. It needs to stand on its own. I think blue cheese works perfectly fine, but I don't need it. As long as the wing is good on its own, that's pretty much all that I need.
There was a national chain here, a bunch of friends and I would get together for the NFL draft, and we'd go, not Buffalo Wild Wings, it was another one. And there was a location we would go to, and the wings were but so a friend would get the double suicide sauce and dunk.
Oh.
I mean, and they see
you know what? Listen, it's your asshole.
That's just abusing your colon. Really, it is. It's just
like, why? Like, are you trying to go? Are you trying to put yourself through torture? Because it's coming out one of two ways, and it ain't gonna be pleasant.
I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can go to like.
You watch too many episodes of whatever that interview. What is it? Hot Wings.
Yeah,
exactly. You know,
I'm not ever trying to bomb. I'm never doing it.
So last thing, I'm pretty sure Josh Allen's done crying now, so we could talk about the AFC.
You shut up, you dick.
That's why Mike McDaniel doesn't want to go there now. Here's my thing. But can I have a Mike McDaniel take here, please?
Go ahead.
Listen. There's a part of me that's like, I get it. I understand you want to hold out for. You're trying to get a head coaching gig, and you can negotiate everything you want. But again, the whole Chargers thing, where he's going to take the offense coordinator job if he doesn't get the head coaching gig, which I think at this point right now, with all due respect to Mike McDaniel, who he is quirky, right on the edge of flaky. I made this point the other day, to the point where I'm not convinced he's in reality, he's particularly great head coaching material.
He's another Adam Gase. That's what he is.
I honestly think he's got, because of his particular level of quirkiness.
He looks like the shop teacher from Beavis and Butthead. You know what I'm saying? He looks like the
I know that people in Miami say, well, he was successful. I said, yeah, but in terms of keeping things, what extended level of success did the Miami Dolphins have with him as a head coach?
Nothing.
I'm not taking anything away from his offensive designs and things of that sort.
Yeah,
I just feel like for people in Philadelphia who were absolutely frothing at the mouth over bringing him in as the offensive coordinator, between scheme and the way his public persona is, I could not think of anybody who would have been a worse match for this market as an offensive coordinator than Mike McDaniel would have.
Well, okay, first,
he does not like cold weather.
First, Mike McDaniel.
I mean, Mike doesn't either. It's a big part of the
Mike McDaniel ruled himself out of any Buffalo job when he went by a Buffalo bar in Miami after Miami beat the Bills in his car and was razzing Bills fans. So the bar was called the Elbow Room, and they have video of him.
Everyone knows the Elbow Room from the last two Stanley Cups, and every damn NHL reporter.
It's in there, yeah.
Right. Hold on, who do we know loves it from our good friend Mike? How many times I've heard Mike Zeisberger wax poetic about the Elbow?
Right, but Zeiss hates the Bills, I think. But no. So I mean, I think. But first of all, I think he took himself out of the Buffalo job because he knew he wasn't going to get it. He took himself out of the Cleveland job because apparently Cleveland has got this
Cleveland's taking themselves out of this.
Did you hear this? I read
the whole thing and I'm laughing. I'm like, you guys, I'm laughing.
And
you guys have been a disaster.
We're getting
and
back
you're
on
making it harder to get yourself to get a coach.
But let me go say this quickly. The trend right now, a lot of these coaches, like Brian Daboll, supposedly had a chance to be the Philadelphia offensive coordinator. Apparently, it's still there if he doesn't get the Buffalo job. He's the leading candidate.
But it's already been talked about. If he doesn't take it, Diana Rossini already talked about this already. If he doesn't get the Buffalo job, he's leaning towards the Tennessee job.
Right. Well, that's because
I think the Eagles at this point now are like out of sight, out of mind.
The Eagles basically said, "We're not going to wait.
Or should they?"
Right. No, yeah, and I get that. So now if he doesn't get the job in Buffalo,
and honestly, let's talk about something else with Brian Daboll.
I do think he's going to get the Buffalo job. I think
he probably will get the Buffalo job. Here's my only thing about Daboll. For a guy who's an supposed offensive guru, there was a local radio host here who was talking about his offenses and where they've ranked.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the couple of seasons he had, obviously, with Josh Allen before he went to Philadelphia.
Right.
They were always ranking anywhere in the low 20s to 30 in some cases.
He did have a rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart, and Dart did better for Daboll than he's done this year. That's a big thing.
He struggled with Daniel Jones, but he still got them in the playoffs.
Right.
So, but the only thing is, like, he had his 2 most successful seasons with Allen. Allen is part of the process. He's not going to get, but Bean is aware. Bean is familiar with him. That's why I think he's going to get the job. They have to get themselves a better defensive coordinator than Wink Martindale to.
I don't mind Wink Martindale for the Jets, by the way. Let's just. We're doing predictions and we're leaving.
Sure.
This is it. So predictions.
AFC, New England, Denver.
Yeah, New England, Denver. I mean, for most of the year on FanDuel spots, if people watch me on Locked On Flyers, I have been picking Denver. Obviously, now they had something catastrophic happen, so I think New England wins, but I think it'll be closer. So New England's going to win that one for me. What about you guys?
Anthony?
Could we have a Nick Foles moment for the Denver Broncos here? It's possible. Again, it is a tough up. Again, if you're going to do it, let it happen at home. I'm going to say we're going to get a little bit of a surprise. I think it'll be a close one. It'll be lower. It'll be a lower scoring game, but I'm going to say Denver 24, New England 21 in overtime.
Yeah, I could see it going one way or the other like that.
It would be nice to have Jared Stidham, who was drafted by New England, stick the dagger in Vrabel's back.
Oh, I wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah, but I don't think Stidham's going to have a Nick Foles against Minnesota performance.
No, he's just got to. He has to manage the game, but on top of that, one of the receivers is out, so it's like. So I mean, I think New England's going to win. I'm praying and hoping that Denver wins because the last thing I want to see is Vrabel carrying around the Vince Lombardi trophy, that bonehead.
Yeah.
So he's obviously not a bonehead if they're that good.
No, I mean, he looks like a bonehead. He looks like one of those guys who beat up the.
He's too Dan Campbell for you, in other words.
Yeah. So Rams versus Seahawks. Look, I'm a big Sam Darnold guy for obvious reasons, but he's really banged up. Most of this year, I felt like the Rams were going to get to the Super Bowl anyhow, and I think they're still getting to the Super Bowl. But I think they're going to win this one by a bigger margin. Yeah. But it's not going to be super high scoring. I could see something like 30-20, something like that. Darnold just can't really do much with the side, that side.
And they're also missing. And again, their running back situation, Charbonnet's out now as well.
Yeah, that's going to hurt.
It concerns me, but I could also see if Seattle's one of those places, and I think Chris Long very much put this correctly on his show, was that Seattle's one of those places that if they get up on you early, it's really tough.
Yeah. And
really
I just don't think they have that ability.
So the key thing is that for LA to win this game, for me, they have to be able to take early command of this game.
Yeah.
Early command, like get up at least more than 7, I'd say probably a 10 spot before I would feel 100% comfortable. If it's within a touchdown, I feel like Seattle can hang around and have a chance to win. That being said, this does have that sort of feeling with this Rams team that it's their moment.
Yeah, they almost got there last year.
They almost got there last year, obviously against Philadelphia. Didn't happen, but whatever. So I'm going to say I'm going to go LA, but another close one. We could be seeing another. We might have 2 conference champions. I'm going to say we're going to have 2 conference championship games that go to overtime. This one, though, will be the Rams with a game-winning touchdown and Seattle's offense not being able to do anything with it. So I'm going to say 30-24 Rams in overtime.
I'm a little concerned with the Rams defense because, I mean, they let Caleb Williams had a really good season, but there was no excuse for them giving up that touchdown late in the fourth quarter. That was a Buffalo Bills type of heartbreak that they avoided with the overtime win in Chicago. That being said, I think Russ is right. The Darnold injury, the lack of a running back. The Rams have Stafford, who's won a Super Bowl, and Nakua is one of the best players in the NFL. I think the Rams are going to, and from my point of view of not having New England win a Super Bowl, they could beat Seattle. I don't think they can beat the Rams. So I'm rooting for the Rams, and I think the Rams will win.
And it's going to be something to be said. Again, the Rams go on the road for a team that, obviously prefers to play. They would have gone into the Buccaneers were the Buccaneers, but they struggled against them. Not the Buccaneers. I'm sorry. Who were they playing? Jesus, I'm losing my mind here. Carolina. Carolina was not an easy place necessarily to play, and they nearly lost that one. So they have, and again, Chicago, they barely got by as well. if they win here against Seattle, I mean, that's a really good resume in this case for me to have gone an LA team to have gone on the road, and win. And again, advantages now they're on their side of the country now, so that helps. But yeah, it would get obviously a lot of respect from me, but it wouldn't shock me if Seattle got up early that they could roll them. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yep. All right, that's it. That's it for Off the Post. We'll catch everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.